I'm going to grab my shoes real quick. We'll have our Mr. Rogers moment. And I have a question for you guys. Would you rather talk about principle of miracles, just a few, or laws of chaos, just a few? Hi there, Cat. Fancy meeting you guys here. Lucy says, send some unicorn vibes. Hey, Lucy. Marlon says, he's just a yogi. It has never been in a thong, ever. I'm not saying it won't ever happen. Who knows, you know? Some morning you might wake up and find yourself in a thong. Chances are unlikely at this point in my life than they were 20 plus years ago. I did wake up and find myself in some very precarious situations. Cat says, like done. Thank you, Cat. So, miracles or chaos. Both are valuable to consider. So just because one sounds and seems negative, don't discount it as a something that we should learn. Do you want to very briefly cover the principles of miracles or the laws of chaos? Let me know. Hey, Susanna, let's put some shoes on. Today we're wearing New Balance barefoot shoes. New Balance trail shoes that are ancient and have some duct tape on them. Cat says hello, beautiful Marlon. Lucy says hello to Cat. So I'm letting you guys decide. Miracles or chaos? Today's going to be a low-key day. Easy workout. I'm sore from yesterday. Can't believe I'm sore from light squats. But I am. Of course, they don't feel as light because, you know, I did 8 rounds of kettlebell intervals with 18 kilograms. All right, since no one has told me what they want to talk about, I'll give you one more opportunity. Chaos or miracles, guys. Take your pick. What's it going to be, Kat? Are we choosing miracles or chaos? Yes. One or the other. We can talk briefly about the principles of miracles or the laws of chaos. Kat says miracles, of course. All right. But eventually we got to talk about the laws of chaos, because the laws of chaos interfere with, I don't want to say our ability. We always have the ability, but the awareness of our choice to ask for miracles. And a miracle simply is that. A miracle is give me 1 second. A miracle is simply a shift of perception. It doesn't change anything. How about the miracles in chaos? The only chaos is an illusion. So there's no miracle in chaos other than serving as a guidepost for us to choose a miracle. They stand in opposition to miracles themselves. So let's do a little correspondence here. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They are all the same. All are expressions of love. All expressions of love are maximal. Let's do something real quick. That's the first principle. All expressions of love are maximal. So we think that, oops, sorry guys. We think that, I want to pin that comment. We think that we can't forgive someone, that we can't let go of this particular anger, that we can't let go of or surrender a thought that keeps us separate from others, each other. Hey, Sniper. And you're absolutely right. You can't forgive. You, who you think you are, the perception that you're holding about this person, that situation, or a particular event cannot be forgiven. Zero. There's zero chance that you will be able to forgive that person. You might compromise. You might say, well, maybe I'll feel better if I forgive. Maybe I will get something in return. Maybe this person will treat me better. But that's not true forgiveness. That's bargaining. Hey, Maddie. Maddie says, dropping a like. Miss Yogi, can't stop waiting in doctor reception. I'll be thinking of you, Maddie. Sending prayers, my friend. Sending prayers. So, at that very first principle of miracles, there are no order of difficulties. Forgiving one thing, forgiving someone stealing our parking space is no more difficult than forgiving someone who has grievously harmed us. Because we're not asking to pardon someone. We are asking for our own perception to be shifted. And as we talked about over in Cats, or as I talked about actually, meaning I left a random comment. Just because someone else has forgotten who they are, just because someone else is mirrored so deeply in the illusion that they cannot even see a glimmer of light, excuse me, doesn't mean that we can't ask for a miracle so that we can see their light. And in seeing their light, we get a glimpse of our own. That's the miracle. In forgiving another, we are forgiven. In seeing the light within another, we see the light within ourselves. And if you want to see that light within yourself, and I highly recommend it, by the way, then we practice forgiveness. And we do that, remember, it's not us. We're not doing it. We are asking for the miracle. We are asking for help. Holy Spirit, Jesus, Krishna, I can't do this on my own. Please help me shift my perception to see the light within another. So, the first order of chaos, you thought I forgot. You guys thought you pulled one over on me. We're going to talk about miracles. We don't want to talk about chaos. Huh. That's what you thought. That's what you thought, guys. The first law of chaos is that the truth is different for everyone. Like all these principles, this one maintains that each is separate and has a different set of thoughts that set him off from others. This principle evolves from the belief that there is hierarchy of illusions, that some illusions are going to be more difficult to forgive than another. However, when we get back to that one pin statement, what was that pin statement? All expressions of love are maximal. Forgiveness is nothing more than extending who we are, and who we are is love. So we're continuously extending love. So it says how to say of the year, and I'm putting on my climbing gear. Gonna get a suntan. Just so you're leaving random comments on Cat's live stream. That would be an awesome name for my channel, actually. Cat says random comments are welcome and encouraged. Then you are in the right place with the right person. I am nothing if not random. I have, by some who are closest to me, have actually been declared the most random person ever. And that came about because I was on a walk with someone once and started talking about spatulas. unprovoked. And they were like, why, 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 why are you talking about spatulas? No one asked about spatulas. No one had a question about spatulas. And somehow you managed to have an entire conversation, mainly with yourself, talking about spatulas. But here's a question for you guys. Is there ever a wrong time to talk about spatulas? Prove me wrong. I'm going to offer a yogi challenge today. At some point today, have a random conversation about spatulas. Well, it could be about a spatula if you have a particular favorite spatula. And who doesn't? Why would you not? Some just fit your hand better than others. You know what I mean? Is there such a thing as left-handed spatulas? Have you ever just felt off? You're holding a spatula and you think, this doesn't feel right. Maybe you inadvertently bought a left-handed spatula, or maybe you're left-handed and you are using a right-handed spatula. All things to consider in our conversations about spatulas. And again, I want to see if you can somehow fit, if you're doing a live stream today, can you somehow fit a conversation about spatulas in your live stream? Let me know. Or with someone. Or, are you going out to the store? Talk to the cashier. Ask them, do you have a favorite spatula? Do you have one that has like sentimental value? Has it been handed down? Is it a family heirloom? Is it a spatula that belonged to your great-great-grandmother? Could be. All right, consider these things. And there you go. Perfect demonstration of the first law of chaos. We get confused. We think some things are more important than others in the illusion. But an illusion is a spatula. Just a yogi talking about spatulas in his office. That's the channel. That's why you guys came here. You wanted to talk about spatulas. However, you didn't know it. You didn't know it. You didn't know it when you woke up this morning. You didn't wake up and think, today's kind of a spatula day. Hey, Commander Alpha Turkey, my friend. Nice to see you. So the law of chaos says, well, this one is going to be harder to see through than another. This is going to be harder to forgive than this is harder to forgive. However, when we get back to that very first principle, there is no order of difficulties in miracles. No order of difficulties in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. I know as soon as I said that, Marlon's mind is going someplace really off course. They're all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. Sniper says, waiting for a reply from pre-millennium. What's a spatula? It's the thing that your mom uses to make you eggs or to flip your pancake. Or, if you grew up in certain households, to threaten you. I have never been spanked with a spatula. Hey, but I'm open for all kinds of things. There you go, that pancake flipper. Exactly, Kat. That pancake flipper thing is a spatula. How did he get the name spatula? Did someone try to say something else and just mispronounced it? It came out in a stutter? They were trying to say something very technical. And they, for whatever reason, they had like a brain freeze. They were trying to say pancake flipper. And they went, spatula? It's a spatula. And they didn't want to admit that they just made a mistake. I wonder how much that has actually happened. Marlon says, take note, Kat. Yogi wants a spanking with a spatula. And Kat says, no, don't bring me into this. I told you. I got to be careful what I bring up. All right, we're not going down that direction. We will not rename the channel that. Lucy's laughing. Let's steer the conversation away. Why are you guys even talking about spatulas anyway? Speaking of random, I'm having a nice normal conversation about miracles and laws of chaos, and you guys start talking about spatulas. You guys are ridiculous. So, any questions about miracles and that first law of chaos? If you are thinking that there is something in your life that is unforgivable, if you are thinking there is someone who used to be in your life who is unforgivable, that this situation just cannot be forgiven, then you are stuck in the first law of chaos, that there is a hierarchy of illusion. An illusion is an illusion is illusion. Every sin is a misperception. Every sin is calling for correction, not punishment. And non-forgiveness is punishment. Non-forgiveness does not affect the other person. Non-forgiveness keeps you stuck in a lower energy. Non-forgiveness keeps you stuck in a world of separation. If you want to be whole, if you want to be healed, if you want to be steeped in the boiling teapot of love, how's that for metaphorical? Then you got to allow yourself to boil over with forgiveness. It's not the most poetic metaphor, but hey, man, it's like just after 5 in the morning. What do you guys expect from me? Like spatula talk or something? I do have a favorite. Now that you mention it, I do have a favorite spatula. How weird is that? I'm glad you asked. Maybe I'll show you. Maybe I'll show you my spatula. Why is it my favorite? You might ask. Hey, Dolly. You might ask that. Why is it my favorite spatula? In which I would reply, why are you digging into my personal spatula information? Not everyone needs to know that. Some things are between a boy and his spatula and aren't meant for public reveal. But in all honesty, I have a favorite spatula because it is the spatula that I used when I was cooking my dad eggs and flipping his pancakes and cooking him whatever he needed. I was often asked with my father, do I have issues cooking? Do I have issues cooking meat or scrambling eggs as a vegan? And you know, should I? Do I have any ethical concerns? No, never, not a one. I was feeding my father. That's what counts. My ethics always and only first most kindness. Only ethic I have. Be kind. Docs that spatula. Never. Illusions. Yep. And the first law of chaos. Don't get stuck in the hierarchy of illusions. Marlon says, interesting, my sister as a vegan would struggle with that quite a bit. Many vegans would. Dolly, how are you? Phoenix says, Yogi, cat, I love you. Good morning. I love you too, Dolly. Hey, Sissy. Sissy, how you feeling this morning? I haven't considered vegan cat food because my cats came to me when they were 10 years old and they ate what they ate. We tried vegan dog food and they loved it. But, we weren't exclusive about it. I'm going to use improper yogi language. You guys can quote me on this. I'm a vegan. I'm not a dick. I don't need to be a dick to my cats. I don't need to be a dick to my dogs when I have dogs. I don't need to be a dick to my dad. And I don't need to be a dick to other people. If you want to eat meat, my friends. My ethics are for me. And part of my ethic, again, my only ethic, is to be kind. To inflict my thoughts, my views, my opinions on other people isn't being kind. It's being a dick. All right. That might be the first time I ever said that on a live stream. So we can say yogic lesson number 1, Course in Miracles lesson number 1, don't be a dick. There you go. Dolly says, Lucy, love, good morning, love you. Dolly is just so full of love. She starts her day waking up, extending love. What a awesome thing. You actually counted how many times I said that? Wow. That makes me feel bad because I only meant to say it 8 times. I must have gotten carried away. I blame you guys and your spatula talk. You got me all confused. Commander's laughing. Lacey's laughing. Cameron says, what you eat doesn't make me poop. Doesn't make you poop. I'm going to have to take that in deep consideration. Hey, Skits. Skits says, good morning. So, I'm going to go for number 10. And then, just to catch everyone up, get everyone on board. We have spent the morning talking about miracles, chaos, spatulas, and not being a dick. Did I miss anything? Hey, Mary Z. Hello, my friend. Then he says, my opinion, if carefully constructed, it could be an option, but since there are so much meat scraps and meat not used for human consumption. I agree. Skid says, happy Thursday, everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you. Sniper says, catch you all later. Tree to climb. Be careful, Sniper. Be careful in the heat. Cat says, what you eat doesn't make me poop. Goes along really well with your random message in my live stream, Yogi. What you eat doesn't make me poop. What did I say? I don't remember what I said in your live stream. Did I say something about pooping? This is the best thing about randomness is you don't have to remember what you just said. If someone says, you contradicted yourself, you just said, I'm like, it was random. I don't know. I just was talking about spatulas, guys. Mary Z says, hi, Yogi. Hi, Mary Z. I hope you're having a good day, my friend. That makes sense, Marlon. It's just using what would land in the bin. I was using just dry cat food because that's what came with the cats, dry cat food. So we kept doing dried cat food. And then one day, I don't remember how it happened. I think maybe my brother bought a can, moist cat food. And it sat around for a while. And I noticed it was about to expire. And I thought, well, I may as well feed it to him. And I opened the can. And that first crack, the cats, who were nowhere to be found, ran and started dancing around my feet. And I thought, you know what? And I had them for about 3 years at this point. Wow, 3 years, and they never once complained. They never once looked at me and said, dry cat food again? But they must have been missing it. They recognized it, and they were so joyful that I thought, I can't deny them that joy every morning. And I can't deny myself the joy of seeing my cats dance in happiness, just waiting. So just give them a little bit. I put a spoonful of the moist shredded in the dry. They're happy. I'm happy. First law of first principle of miracles, shift of perception. Sissy says they never forget that sound. They never forgot that sound either. Nope. Man, they appeared instantly. And it was just that little tiny, like, I'm not going to mimic, I'm not going to mimic that sound. You know the sound. Marlon says, that's why I actually don't get wild game for my cat. Since I can, I want to eat that, but the cat food I buy purposely, not an expensive one, but well formulated, that is clearly made from scrap meat. Gotcha. I think that's what I do too. Dolly says, now Dolly's talking my language. I have a favorite potato peeler. You know what? Well, I was going to say I have a favorite potato peeler too, but I only have one. So that instantly makes it my favorite. Unless you guys next year for Christmas would actually get me a potato peeler for Christmas. And then I'd be like, man, I'm torn. Here's a question. Why do I have a potato peeler? One, I don't peel potatoes. Two, I never actually bought one. I just somehow ended up in life with a potato peeler. How do we end up with stuff like that? How did I end up with spoons? I never bought a spoon before. Well, that's not true. I bought a Michael Burkeen decorative spoon to support my friend. Oh, Dolly says my dad's. So we inherit our potato peelers. I got to reach out to my stepchild and let her know. I don't have a will yet, but in my will, she is getting my potato peeler. Proudly, proudly handed down, generation upon generation, to now be bestowed upon you. I should have some sort of ceremony. What do you think? Like an initiation? Should there be a potato peeling initiation? Maybe a ceremonial dance. Maybe we place the potato in a sacred circle and we dance upon it. And in completion of the ceremony, one perfect peel with the potato peeler. And now my stepchild has been proudly initiated in the grand order of... Give me a Latin word for potato peeling. Dolly says, my grandma's flour shifter. Hey, you know what? In all seriousness, isn't older stuff like that awesome? To have something like that and knowing that your grandmother shifted flour with it. If I look at that potato peeler and I have no idea how I got it, but it's somewhere in my family. Maybe my mom one day had this exact conversation. And since there was no such thing as internet back then, she was probably having it at a PTA meeting, and all the parents of her students were looking at her thinking, why is this lady having such a crazy talk about potato peelers? Her poor son. Not realizing that one day her poor son would actually be having a random conversation about spatulas on the internet with people who are literally all across the world. How odd. How odd life actually is. But isn't it absolutely awesome that we get to have these conversations? And isn't it absolutely awesome that I get to have the conversation with you guys? You know what? If I went out in the world looking for just the right people to have a conversation about spatulas with, it would be pretty awesome to find you guys. Marlon says, weirdos unite. That's why we're here. Hey, Easy. Easy says, hello, friend. Hello, my friend. I think because the village only survived because of potatoes at one point. This is true. And you know, epigenetically, this isn't as random as it sounds. Epigenetically, people are still suffering to this day from the Irish potato famine of the 1840s, 1850s. That it has been passed down, the trauma of those events, the starvation, the depredation, have been passed down through the DNA expression to those whose ancestors suffered that ordeal. Same with if your parent, your grandparent, your great-grandparent, who knows how far back, suffered the trauma of any kind of abuse or addiction, that has been passed down in your DNA. That sounds like pretty rotten news, except we don't have to rely upon the DNA expression that we have. It doesn't have to be activated. We can actually heal epigenetically and therefore not pass that down. And we can do that also in retrospect, in both directions. We can heal previous trauma ancestrally so that it changes our life and the expression of our DNA. And how do we do that? Forgiveness. You thought I forgot. You thought I forgot that I was just a yogi talking about A Course in Miracles in my office. I never forget. It's the one thing I don't forget. And I won't, because that's our message. The message is forgiveness. Always. Always and only. I meditate. I practice yoga. I do breath work. All of it is centered on forgiveness. Sissy says sincere forgiveness. Exactly, my friend. Hey, Coffee Cake Loving Bish. Bish. Hey, Oni. Being angry with the British is hereditary? It is epigenetic, but we can heal that. We can heal that ancient, man, where is it in the Course? I'm glad you said that, Oni. I'm really glad you said that. We're going to talk about this real quick, and then I got to go out for my walk. Chapter 26. The holiest of all spots on earth. The holiest of all spots on earth is where an ancient hatred has become a present love. Is there anything? I'm going to talk about this all day. Thank you so much. We replaced the pinned comment. Cat says meow, as every cat should. One more time. The holiest of all spots on earth is where an ancient hatred has become present. And every single hatred, whether it seems new or not, is an ancient hatred because it all stems from our belief that we are separate from God. It all stems from our belief that we've been cast out of the garden, that we have stepped outside the realm of heaven. So we step into that first law of chaos. Hi, Anna. So we can heal every single ancient hatred right now, epigenetically, historically. There is no hierarchy of illusion. An illusion is an illusion is an illusion, and forgiveness is seeing through the illusion that we are separate from God, that we are somehow in a position to cast judgment upon another. Easy says, thank you. Thank you, my friend. Remember, a miracle is simply saying, I want to see this differently. I want to see this through the eyes of Christ instead of the eyes of the ego. I don't wish to see illusion any longer. I want to see reality. I want to see that it's all love, not even interconnected. How can one thing ever be interconnected? So last night I had a great conversation with our friend Duncan Walsh, and we talked about loneliness. I don't feel that I got my message of loneliness across. This is just for me. Doesn't have to be for everyone. I'm going to read it real quick. And then I got to go. I got to take my walk. I mentioned that hey, Miss Flipper. I mentioned that, Cat says, you think that ancient hatred is what the church referred to as original sin? Yes, I do. And we can consider it the tiny mad idea. Ancient hatred all stems from the tiny mad idea. What would it be like if we were our own creators? What would it be like if we created ourselves and everything else instead of God? We could say the tree of knowledge was not knowledge at all. The tree of knowledge was forgetfulness. We ate, let's not say apple. I like apples too much. Let's say instead of an apple, it was a pear. I'm less fond of pears. So the forbidden fruit was actually a pear, and we ate that pear of forbidden knowledge, which was just a fruit of forgetfulness. So after the conversation with Duncan last night and this morning, I was thinking about loneliness, my own apparent feelings of loneliness, and how I didn't quite get my message across that I wanted to. And here it is. No, it will never be a banana, Duncan. Dundee, sorry. It will never be a banana. So, this is what I wrote this morning. Loneliness is the reminder of my misperception, hinting that even with a prayerful life, there are still times I stray a bit farther from my home. In this sense, it serves as a path guide, a navigational tool to help me remember that even an urge to connect with God is actually union, perhaps being the holiest of all prayers, and is already answered immediately and intimately so in my very first reach for comfort. Loneliness serves to remind me to reach. Loneliness serves to remind me to prayer. And every prayer is already answered. Every prayer is simply God. Anything that follows that is just an add-on. If you were to start every prayer, before you request anything, just say God, and anything that you request afterwards isn't even needed. Because the answer to every single prayer, your answer to lack, your answer to loneliness, your answer to what should I do, where should I go, what should I say, and who should I say it to, is God. There you go. This is why the Course says we say God is and then fall silent. Anything we say is an add-on. It's not that add-ons are bad. They're not. However, they're unnecessary because God's the answer. With that, the sun is coming up. I'm late. There's beavers awaiting. Beavers waiting, spatulas to clean, potato peelers to consider. For me, ancient hatred is fear. Agreed, Miss Bipper. Agreed. Me too. All right, I gotta go. Love you guys. I'll see you later. Don't forget, tune in. 5:25. It's the Cat and Jack show. And that guy Yogi. He'll be there. Lucy says, later, Yogi Eric. Later, guys. Bye, Lucy. Bye, Miss Bipper. Love you guys.